Welcome back to the Blissful Badger and my March Madness Army Showcase Showdown. Throughout this month, we're going to look at all of my armies, and I'd like you to rate these armies on 5 criteria on a scale of 1 to 10. And then at the end of the month, we're going to tally up all of the scores and see which army is the best out of my collection. So what are these criteria? 1. The paint scheme. Is my army cohesive? What level have I painted it to? Do these colors work for this army? 2. Playability. How did I go selecting models for this army? Is this a viable army on the battlefield? 3. My reason for owning it. Do I have a good justification for owning this army? 4. Theming. How much does this army fit their lore? Have I built this army to a standard that makes sense for what the army does in the lore? And 5, conversions and customization. What conversions did I make to this army? How did I make it my own? So which army are we checking out today? Today we're going to look at my Horus Heresy Death Guard army. I haven't done an update on this army for several months now, and other than getting 1 or 2 other things built, it hasn't really seen very much work done to it. I still have 2 units of Terminators, my 2 Apothecaries, and my kitbashed character, my kitbashed Praetor. I still have the 2 20-man squads of Marines. I don't know if I had the Spartan built yet, but it's built now. And as far as the Dreadnought goes, it was a lot of pieces and I still haven't built it. One thing I realized as I was bringing these models out, there's actually no reason for me not to have glued them to bases yet. Because with the texture paste and alien neon tufts that I plan on using, I have 3 of the tiny and 3 of the 4mm packages. Other than that, I don't plan on doing anything special with them that requires them to be not glued down. Maybe I was meaning to do some cork as well and make them just a little bit taller. That might be something I had in mind, but that would kind of mean that my 2 Apothecaries would have to be rebased, and that's not going to happen, being that these are old metal and slaughter. Yeah, these are the old metal Marines that I used for the Apothecaries. So they are shorter than a regular tactical in Heresy. And I kind of like that retro feel for my 30k army. And I did have the color scheme picked out. I do need to re-white that Apothecary's head. The wash was a little bit dark right there, and it was speckled. But I also have the regular Terminator with the heavy flamer right there. And if you look, I have a few things that I need to touch up as well. Like, let's see if that focuses. No? Okay. I need to clean up that green. But I did have almost the whole army built until I realized I wanted to do some more troops with the Mark III armor and purchased the Astartes battle group right here. I was going to do some special weapons with that mark compared to the regular tacticals in Mark VI. And one of those was going to get some flamers as a special unit. And I was going to do a kit bash where I took the normal bolters and made long-range bolters using some of those bits. So I just haven't had this as a priority on my table. But I realized, yeah, there's some easy conversions that I could do. I could get these guys painted up in a couple of weeks with the shoulder pads that I need to do and the trim. Basing isn't very hard since I already have the tufts. And I could easily get this to complete if I had it as a focus for a little while. And then, of course, I did pick up another Age of Darkness box because it was such a great deal. And as soon as I get these models built and painted, and these models built and painted, I will continue with that. Until such time, it's going to stay in the shrink wrap because that makes sense. If I have 30 some odd more models still to work on, why start on those ones yet? Now, I don't remember if my special long-range weaponry was going to be Mark III or Mark VI armor, but that's something I can find out after I've done some more work on this. So these are Loyalist Death Guard. The red shoulder pad and fist is to represent the Dusk Raiders color scheme, but it also has the green backpack and shoulder pad to denote that they are Death Guard as well. I think that this color scheme, the very bone color, sandy color, works great for that, and I do look forward to painting more of these. I just haven't gotten around to it because I've never played a game of Heresy yet. And although I would love to give it a shot, it hasn't been a priority when I've been playing all of the other games. But, having 40 more tacticals built and ready to go isn't a bad thing, right? And I really do like the Cataphracti Terminators compared to other Terminators. I do have plans for those 10 to be built in yet another fashion. I don't plan on doing 5 more I might do 5 more flamers, but I won't do 5 more claws. But I might even magnetize 5 of them up, or 10, to have other options, because I think you get like 17 different weapon options in a kit for 5 guys. So I could see magnetizing some Terminators, but I wouldn't magnetize tacticals. But that's for the future. I don't know if this will get much work done this year, but I don't know, maybe I'll take a couple of weeks and paint some of them up. One thing I am waiting on is I think I want to try some oil washes on these. The Acrylic didn't really work as well as I wanted to when I did this apothecary. I used a slightly more satin prime on these, so the paint doesn't want to stick quite as well, but it might actually help the oils flow. And I do want to make them really, really dirty. The more experienced they are, the dirtier I want them to be. So my tactical squads in Mark 6 are going to be fairly clean, just 1 or 2 passes with oils. The cataphracti are going to have multiple coats, and my Mark 3 are going to have more than the Mark 6 as well. But I also don't want them to be so dirty that you can't tell what they are. And I do plan on doing the green wash over the desert sand to be a toxic environment. And using those tufts, they're going to look very interesting. So I do look forward to this army being playable. The Spartan has seen a few games as a Land Raider Redeemer, because in the Crusade match games that we were playing, I didn't have a Land Raider Crusader for my Legion of the Damned. But now that it's an Escalation League, I can't really paint this in the wrong color scheme. So it's back in the proper army. And I am looking forward to having the Deredeo and a Land Raider and another Spartan and eventually 2 of the Contemptors. So this is going to be a fairly decent sized force just from these 3 boxes and the 2 old minis that I had. And I am looking forward to it. There's some cool arm swaps and kitbashes planned, and overall it's a decent force. Oh, I also did the chain bayonets on this squad of 20 and sword bayonets on that 20. So when I do eventually open the second Age of Darkness, I will have a squad of 20 without bayonets. And that'll keep them nice and separate, and I'll know which ones are which. But currently with Heresy 2.0, the different bayonets cost different points. And I don't know, it's been several years since Age of Darkness came out. It's possible that we might get a 3rd edition Heresy at some point in the near future. If that's the case, I will definitely add that new starter box to this army, so long as it makes sense for the Death Guard. But until that time, this is where my force is. If you would like to see a full breakdown of my army list, there is a link to a spreadsheet in the description below. Subscribe if you haven't, so that you don't miss any future videos. I also want to thank my patrons and supporters for making these videos possible. And until next time, I hope you find your bit of bliss.